This conference will now be recorded.
Hello and welcome everybody. This is a recap of a recent presentation that Theresa Morris and Jay Mellon did at our STP Roundup, and I thought the content was so great, we decided to do a special recording so people could hear it again, kind of reinforce the lessons that Theresa has learned and apply them to your own MSP. So with that, welcome Theresa, my friend. How you doing?
Very good. Michael, how are you?
Very good. She's kind of starting off by telling a falsehood. She's feeling a little bit under the weather today, but she still agreed to follow through with her commitment. So we'll make this pretty as quick and as easy as possible. So Teresa, could you just give like a 2 second for people that don't know who you are, where you work with. Just give us a short introduction for yourself, please.
Sure. So my name is Theresa Morris, and I am the Chief Revenue Officer here at AtNetPlus. Been with the company just a little over 7 years, and I'm probably one of the few people here at AtNetPlus that have been through just about every position on the sales and account
Interesting.
management side of the team, which has been nice. It's definitely given me the I'd say extra insight, to business development and account management, and then some of the different manager positions, being coming from experience and being in all those roles myself, kind of as I worked my way up.
Mhm. And so I know we're going to get to this in a minute. So basically, in this chart, it shows that fundamentally that you basically manage kind of at least three aspects of revenue development or revenue growth for AdNet Plus, and the
Correct.
biggest one obviously is both the client account managers. It looks like you got a few titles down here. You might just touch on.
Yeah. So as you can see on this organizational chart, so I directly oversee the software development, workflow automation team that we work with and those particular opportunities. Then I also oversee our team of client account managers. We also have a small team of two of folks that spend all of their time tracking like warranty renewals
Mhm.
and like support
Awesome.
subscriptions for hardware, software. And then I oversee our solutions analyst role, which handles all of our project scoping and discovery conversations along with the account managers. And then lastly, the marketing team.
And it's interesting, and just thinking back, Teresa, a lot of these people, there's a good mix here too. If my recollection is that you had to recruit uh, outside AdNet Plus for a lot of these client account managers, correct?
I did, yeah. So
Yeah.
again, because I've been through some different roles and some different opportunities here myself. When I was an account manager, none of these current account managers even worked at AtNetPlus. So we made some
Mhm.
changes internally, moved some people around in different roles, and then I, for the most part, brought in just about every single person
Yeah, I was
at
gonna
this
say.
point that directly works from me from different relationships over the years. Some of these people I had actually worked with at my previous employers. Some of these were just people I had relationships with for other reasons. But I will say that I kind of hand selected most of these
That's
people,
yeah,
which
yeah. That's.
has been helpful
I was
as
gonna
well.
say that was kind of the first takeaway I get. I like doing this because I get to experience kind of your success over and over again in a sense. But I would say the first lesson we could draw from this is hire the right people.
I 100% agree. Now that doesn't, hold true for every one of these people. Some of these people, I'll use John as an
Yeah.
example, our solutions analyst. I had no previous experience with him. He was one that just actually applied. I was very impressed by him. He's done just a huge um, favor for AtNet Plus and our clients by having him a part of the
Hmm.
team. And then he himself actually recommended a few people that he had
Okay.
relationships with that I have since hired. So
Oh,
um,
terrific.
it's it's a good blend between um, either people that I've had experience with in the past that I kind of brought in, and or John doing some referring himself.
And,
So
And maybe just touch on this just because through this thread a little bit too, is not all of these people are very highly technical, correct? I mean,
They're really not. I would say that I've leaned more toward trying to find a little more um,
mhm,
technical experience with some of my newer cams. Now, that being said, um, even the ones that, have been here for, 3, 4, 5, 6 years, they have come a long way themselves. So
mhm,
initially, my goal was I wanted to hire people that, had good relationship skills, good
mhm,
customer service skills, had sales background. All of these people have that, which is great. That was the most important to me years ago. Those things are still important to me, but I have leaned a little more in my recent hires to try to find people that have all those great people and sales
mhm.
skills, but also have a little bit of, the technical savviness that obviously can absolutely help in an account manager role.
Yeah, I was just really struck by a recent event that we had where all your client account managers and VCIOs were there. And it really strikes me that you really built a team. I mean, they actually seem to really operate as a team, kind of communicate as a team. Uh, and that's to your credit, Teresa. I think the thing I really got out of this session in Cleveland was that you're just a really good manager. And starting with the hiring and kind of building the teamwork and having accountability, and we'll go through that whole story here in a second.
Yeah.
But I think
They
you're a classic example of somebody who's just a really great manager.
No, I appreciate that. I hope they would say the same thing. I try my best for sure.
Yeah.
But I agree. They absolutely are a great team. They work very, very well together. They trust each other. Everybody's willing to help each other. John, in his current role as the solution analyst, he has
Hmm.
done a huge, favor to the account managers and being there and assisting them with, different project opportunities and helping them understand some of the deeper technical things. So yeah, it's a great collaboration, I would say, between our group and I'll even extend it beyond that. Everybody just collaborates well, I think, at AtNetPlus in general.
So let's get into the story a little bit too. So this is kind of the slides that you presented at the a recent event, and I think, excuse me, I think this starts with a just a summary of
Mhm.
like if you had to break it down, like what were the drivers of your success with your cams and their productivity and their outcome? And my sense was this was kind of a high level view of what it is that you think drives the kind of success of your cam team.
Yeah, so I mean, I would say it's a combination of all these bullet points. I don't think you can have ultimate success if you're probably not doing all of these things. So I think they're all important, but everything starts with clear expectations.
Hmm.
And so I would say that is where, I definitely try and focus the most on is what is
Hmm.
my expectations of them, what is the client's expectations of the account managers or, or again, anybody within AtNet Plus. I think, if you're not setting clear expectations from the beginning, unfortunately, that's where
Hmm.
all other things can slowly but likely surely start kind of derailing.
Hmm.
So I would say if I had to put these in order of importance, expectations probably would be the first one, which probably subconsciously is why I even put it on this
Put it
slide as such.
first. Funny, funny.
So, but all these things are very important. Outside the expectations, obviously, the comfort and the teamwork and the collaboration with the account managers and the VCIOs or the technical team for that matter. Them really participating heavily in our projects, whether it's pre-project discussions with our clients or once a project's kicked off, they're still involved, meeting weekly, making sure they know exactly where the project stands, any issues, anything they need to get involved in. Um, and then, the cadence that I kind of have as far as managing the account managers. And we'll probably get into that a little deeper. But
A bit
one of
more,
the
yeah.
things that we touch on is obviously this bullet point here, the weekly scorecards. So Some people might think meeting weekly is a little much. Me personally, I think it's the perfect cadence. In the event that anything is slightly going out of expectations, you can bring it back in within a week. So I like the weekly cadence, and that kind of falls in line a little bit with EOS and our
Mhm.
recent
Yeah,
EOS implementation. So I'm really trying to make sure that we're doing all those types of activities across the board, not just on
yeah.
the executive
I
level.
really like, I really like this slide because I can see um, how they kind of, how the different factors kind of interact with each other. And I know we'll get into them deeper, so I won't dwell on all of this. But this kind of is, in a nutshell, how you manage the camps, right? If you
Yeah,
just, yeah, it's
absolutely.
perfect, perfect.
Yeah.
I think the one thing that's kind of unique to you guys too is the degree that the CAMs are involved in projects, and I'm sure we'll get into that in a second. But I think if I was looking at this and thinking about a typical MSP that I'm familiar with or work with, it's there are things in this list that most MSPs don't do or don't do to the specificity that I think you guys do. All right, let's see. The next slide here is kind of I think drills down a little bit in each of those factors we just talked about. So just give me the highlights about what are the expectations that you want CAMs to be clear on. I mean, what is it that you want to make sure that they fully understand and know they're going to be held accountable for?
So, we kind of bullet point it here, but just without, literally
Yeah,
reading through
reading the
this slide,
slides.
just a high level. So they are
Yeah.
absolutely expected to maintain a minimum of a 95% client retention rate.
Hmm.
So each of our account managers has a designated group of managed clients, that they're responsible for.
Yeah.
Um, there can be some wiggle room in that, obviously, if we heaven forbid, we have, three clients that come to us tomorrow and say they were purchased in an acquisition.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, there may be situations that are just absolutely out of our control and hands, and I will take those into consideration as I'm talking and managing the account managers. But in a normal scenario, we do not want
Sure.
to lose a client, whether that
Yeah.
is, account management related, whether it's service delivery related. It doesn't matter. We don't want to
Mhm.
lose a client for either one of those situations. And ultimately, it is the account manager's responsibility to make sure that they are always having a good and regular pulse on the client.
Hmm.
Um, like I said, even if it's a service delivery issue, it is still the account manager's responsibility to be aware of that
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
bring it to the attention of the appropriate people here so we can hopefully address and fix the problem before it becomes a problem. So again, if somebody would absolutely decide they don't want to work with us anymore and they say it's service delivery related, that will still reflect on the account manager. So they are very clear that that is my expectation.
Yeah.
Um, they're responsible for, obviously the relationship, but the trust and making sure that they're acting
Yeah.
as that particular client's, business
Yeah.
advisor. And we
Yeah.
can't do that properly if we're not meeting with our clients regularly. So
Mhm.
we are tracking and making sure we are meeting with our clients on a regular basis. So, obviously the preference is quarterly. However, we have some clients that prefer to meet monthly,
Mm.
some that prefer to meet, biannually. So we kind of play it by ear depending on the size of the client, the needs of the client. Most of our clients are pretty good in meeting on a quarterly basis, but we do have some that
Yeah.
want to meet a little more frequently. So again, they're absolutely responsible for maintaining those cadences with their clients and reporting to me, essentially, if they're
Yeah.
having any issues with any clients, because then myself and the account manager will work together to try to come up with what can we do to get them kind of back on track. And
Yeah.
obviously, if they're not meeting with us, I kind of take that as they
Yeah.
don't find it important or they're not seeing the value, and that's on us to fix. So we need to
I
make
was,
sure we're showing them the value
yeah, I was kind of
in.
curious about your answer to this question. I was talking to somebody same topic basically the other day, a small group. And like this guy was talking about how he measures client churn, right? And I said, well, you really don't want to measure client churn. What you want to do is manage the leading indicators that tells you somebody's not happy or thinking about leaving or whatever. And
Absolutely.
it strikes me too, like this, it's kind of that's what you're looking for in here. Is like what do you think are some leading indicators that you're really looking for to say that a relationship needs to be repaired or
Improved.
restored
Yeah.
or healed something?
So my first clue to me is if somebody's not meeting with us regularly. I
Yeah.
feel right off the bat, okay, they're not seeing the value, obviously, of what we're providing. So we're kind of getting
Hmm.
knocked down in the order of importance of, their availability.
No,
To me,
no,
that's,
exactly right.
yeah. So I feel like that's absolutely the first sign that an account manager would see and that I would see.
Hmm.
Obviously, we're also looking at other things like ticket volume. Is there any recurring tickets? And again, the account managers are absolutely responsible to have a pulse on this.
Yeah.
They should be reviewing support tickets, making sure that things are getting done in the time frame that they should be getting done. Are we having
Hmm.
repeat issues? And if they are, they absolutely need to be having a conversation with service
That's
delivery.
what I was going to say.
We
Yeah.
need to be bringing that to the attention before the client even does. So those kinds of things. Obviously, we're also looking at, how a client is filling out their, satisfaction surveys after a support ticket is complete. So those are
Yeah.
some like obvious things that you'll be able to tell if there's possibly a problem. They're not meeting with us for business review meetings. They're filling out score, about, like the scorecard or the survey, you know,
Hmm.
with less than satisfied, answers or something like that. And or, the account manager just seeing there's a lot going on at a particular client and we better get to the bottom of it
Yeah.
before it becomes a problem.
In a weird way too, it's kind of like it's kind of the flow of communication. I don't know a better way to say it too. It's like, if a client has a, if it's almost, you almost prefer a client that has a problem to let you know that they're kind of pissed off than it
Absolutely.
is,
Oh,
you know what I
yeah.
mean? Rather than just kind of go kind of dormant on you, you know?
Yeah, and I will say one of the things that we absolutely are asking, and every time we meet with a client is, and we don't ask this at the end, we ask, this is the first, one of the first questions we ask is, how have things been? Are you
Hmm.
satisfied with my communication? Are you satisfied with my response time to your requests? Are you
Hmm.
satisfied with these, business review meetings? Are you satisfied with service? I mean, we are asking all of those things. We absolutely want to know if there is
Yeah.
anything that we can be improving on. Um, so absolutely.
It's a, so let's go to the next slide here.
Mhm.
So then I do realize that you have client account managers, which is really kind of the customer facing part of the organization. And then I know you had Cameron previous to this role and you have John in it now. Is what the VCIO, are they kind of the technical, do some of the kind of technical heavy lifting for the CAMs, or what's the exact relationship?
Yeah. So they are responsible for a handful of things as far as interacting with the clients and the account managers. So they are definitely one that our account managers can lean on in the event they're going into a client that could
Mhm.
potentially use a project that may be a little more complicated than just your kind of standard, SharePoint migration, for example, or something like that. Those
Mhm.
those kind of more common projects anymore for us, the account managers definitely can have those initial conversations on their own. But once it starts getting a little more in depth and we're at the point where a project potentially needs scoped out, then
Mhm.
the John, the VCIO, he absolutely will participate with the account manager to have that kind of deeper dive
Mhm.
technical conversation that right now is
Mhm.
probably a little above what the account managers are comfortable with. He'll participate in those discussions, and then after he has scoped out and put an executive summary together of the project and what problems, pains, that project will solve for the client. A lot of times John will then participate in a kind of follow-up conversation with the client and the account manager to kind of go over our proposal and why we're recommending it, if there's multiple options and the pros and cons between each option. But ultimately, at the end of the day, us explaining why a client should do this, what are they going to benefit from doing this project. So he does a great job in assisting with that. So that's a big part of it. And then our clients that are on the advanced security tier, we include VCIO within that package. And that basically means that if a client would like, in addition to their assigned account manager, they also have access to our VCIO on a quarterly basis as well, if they want that deeper kind of strategic road mapping kind of conversation. So essentially, they almost have two assigned account managers to a degree. So they would have their kind of day-to-day account manager, but then they also would have the VCIO. And we have a
That's
lot of
interesting.
clients that take advantage of that. And I don't mean that in a bad way, but like they absolutely love having that extra, a little
Yeah.
more technical person that can help them kind of build out their roadmap over the next 12 months, over the next 3 years, 5 years, 10 years for that matter.
So I forgot to ask you a very basic question too, is how many, if you look at each of your CAMs, how many clients, can you give us a range? How many clients are they responsible for in this manner on average?
Each, you're on the VCIO side or
No, I
the
meant
traditional
the
CAM
traditional
side?
CAM side.
Yeah, so they all vary because each of them have
They're
different
different,
size
right?
clients. But I would say on the low end, 15, 16, on the high end, probably high 20s. But
That's
at
good.
the end of
That's
the
a good
day,
number.
but if you kind of look at that on an MRR level, they're all
Mhm.
pretty equal as far as the amount
Right.
of MRR
So,
they're managing.
so the 11 are bigger than the 20, 20,
Exactly.
26.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. So
I was
yeah,
just curious, and then how many of those, in, you don't have to give a precise number, just kind of order of magnitude, is then how many of those get the kind of advanced, kind of deep drill, deep dive, or deep relationship with the
with
BCIO?
the VCIO.
What,
So again, that what comes with the person's package in the advanced tier, and they could do that quarterly with the VCIO if they would like. We're probably a little better than 60% right now of all of our
wow,
clients
I was
moving
going to
into
say
that package.
that's really good penetrate. That's really good coverage, actually.
Yeah, so I would say we're about half, maybe a little better than half right now. We're making another, I'd say, strong case right now. So I'm pretty confident that here in 2024, we're gonna probably be able to get another 20-25% moved
Oh,
over.
that's awesome. That's really awesome,
Yeah.
Teresa.
And at that point, we're gonna need more than one VCIO, obviously.
Yeah, no,
Um,
that's kind of where I was going. I think the other thing I just want to have people realize, or it's in my brain right now, is when did you roll out the advanced stack? It wasn't that long ago, right? It was
no,
more like
I think
a
it was
year ago, maybe?
fully about 2021. It was
Okay.
partially through 2021. So I think we're about 2 years in right now.
Yeah, that's
Um,
really good.
so yeah, and we're changing kind of how we're going to be doing things with net new clients. Just
Yeah.
to give an example, like we decided just a couple weeks ago that um, I think January 1st of 2024, I think we're gonna at that point just make the decision we're actually not going to offer anything but the advanced
Oh,
security tier or one level even up from that versus offering our kind of what we call our basic security
yeah.
package. We've kind of decided that it's just not making sense anymore. It's not really meeting best practices around cybersecurity in
Yeah.
general. It's not meeting really AtNetPlus's recommendations anymore, and it's surely not meeting the cybersecurity insurance requirements anymore. So once you kind of evaluate that,
Yeah,
you kind of say to yourself, well, then why are we offering it?
that's a
Um,
no brainer. Yeah.
yeah,
You know what I think? You know what I think it is. Actually, it's funny that you guys came to that conclusion, which I believe is 100% the right one, which is it's kind of like being a doctor, right? It's our job to prescribe the thing our clients need, whether they want to take the medicine or not. I mean, it's kind of like
Yeah,
I don't think you can be. I don't think now, for example, I don't think you can be in the supply chain of a significant company without yourself being cyber secure, right?
yeah,
I think it's like it's just kind of it's becoming more and more obvious, and I think MSPs come from some of them come from like a fear-based sense, which is we want to have this kind of less than you know like a less costly option so that then we just get people in the door and then we'll convince them to do cybersecurity. I
yeah.
think you're doing the right thing, which is like we want to have clients that have this that align with us basically. We want to be able to make sure that our clients run secure businesses, right? So if you don't
Right.
align with
Yeah.
us, find somebody else.
And we've absolutely been trying to do a better job of exactly what you just said, making sure that our existing clients and potential future clients align with us, whether that's within
Mhm.
our core values that we have, um,
Yeah,
but as well as do they find security important? Does
yeah,
that mean something to them? And honestly, if I was talking to a potential new client tomorrow that said, cybersecurity is not really important to me, then that's probably a client that
yeah,
is not going to be in good alignment with us. So
yeah.
just trying
We
to do a
both.
better job of evaluating that and not getting ourselves into situations and hoping that in the future we
Yeah,
can convince them to do the right thing. We'd rather kind
yeah.
of go into it doing it the right way to begin with.
No, I think that's great. I think the other interesting thing too is that what I've learned over time, and we'll get back into your slides here in a second. The other thing I've learned, which lines right up with this too, is that uh, it's kind of if somebody is obstinate about cybersecurity, to me, what that means is not that they're stupid or obnoxious or whatever. It's just they don't understand,
Yeah,
right?
it's just unfortunately, yeah, they don't understand. They just are not educated about it.
Yeah,
And again, going back to our existing clients, that's absolutely our job again as account
yeah. That's
managers
what I was getting
is
to.
to educate them. And they rely on us to tell them what they should or should not be doing. So, we're trying our best to spend the extra time with them, kind of going over these
Oh,
things.
that's really
And
great.
again, that's why we kind of came up with this security scorecard for our clients, is to kind of help rather than just talking. Some
Yeah,
people don't, absorb as well. Just kind of hearing it, they sometimes
yeah,
absorb better seeing it. So
yeah.
we're trying to get
Or,
creative
or
and
yeah, or having dialogues about it too. And I think the other thing that I've learned over time working with you and other people in our sales transformation program is that what you really want to do is you don't want to get in a case where you're just like yelling louder. Like
right,
it's really
right.
important. It's really important. It's really is an education process.
Yeah, it
And
is.
over time, and things happen in the interim, right? So like the whole insurance thing happens and all that stuff. So I think it's a really good example of how you guys having the kind of the deep bench you have in the cams, probably directly related to that high percentage. Like you're probably going to get it up to 80% or more of your business at some point. But
I'm
that's a pretty
hoping.
big up. That's a pretty big uptake.
Yeah. And we're doing some different things with clients that are existing clients and not in this tier. To give an example, we're going to be putting some language in their renewal contract that, if they
Good.
choose to stay within the basic tier, for example, obviously they have that choice. We're not going to mandate our existing clients move, but we are going to put some language in there that protects us, basically
Yeah.
saying they acknowledge that they are moving forward with a package that we do not recommend, that is not meeting best practices, that is not meeting cybersecurity insurance typical requirements.
Yeah. I see. I love
Um,
that.
if you decide to go this direction still, that is absolutely your choice. However, any cybersecurity related support tickets will be billable
Yeah.
moving forward because unfortunately, you can never guarantee 100%, but most of
Yeah.
the kind of day-to-day security type tickets that we see could be avoided with the tools that we
Yeah.
offer within the advanced tier.
It's
So
it's pretty fun.
we're
It's
hoping that as people see this different language, that's
yeah.
going to help them kind of understand it better too.
All right. Let's go to the cadence. This is what we really want to get into. So this is kind of how you manage the cams on a I guess weekly basis or monthly
Mhm,
basis or whatever. So
mhm.
what's the kind of philosophy and how does that show up in these kind of details you have here?
Yep. So I have a weekly meeting with each one of the account
Owner.
managers and the VCIO for that matter. And we're going over, basically the scorecard that I've created for the account managers, and it basically has what I would consider to be the most important parts of their job description.
Mhm.
So it's not a full job description, and we're not essentially doing an
I'm with you.
evaluation on a weekly basis, but it's what I feel are some like key points. And to give some examples, how many of your assigned managed clients are meeting on a regular basis? The goal
Mhm.
is 100%.
Yep.
And if it's not 100%, basically they're going to get a red mark essentially. And then we're going to identify who is the client or clients that are not, and what can we do to try to come up with a plan
That's
to
very
correct
good.
that. So
Yep.
we're looking at things like that. We're looking at, do they have any open proposals or projects that are over 30 days? Again, the goal is zero. Everything should be
Uh,
current. So it's not that they can't have a open quote or an open project, but I do not want them to be over 30 days. And there's a
when you
couple
say
reasons.
when you say open, just that means that the quote's done, review with the client, and the client just hasn't signed on it. Is
Correct.
that the
Correct.
definition? Okay.
Yeah. So, and again, this is not because, I'm not okay with things being open and pending. That's perfectly fine. But there's a couple reasons I've put a 30-day limit on it. So a lot of our vendors, for example, hardware, software, they're only
Yeah.
giving us quotes
Pricing.
that are good for 30 days.
Yep.
So, no matter what, if there is something open longer than 30 days, we're going to have to redo it anyway. Um,
Can I ask you a quick question on that, Teresa? So when you guys do, like you go in and you're doing a business review with a client and you make recommendations for things they're going to invest in that quarter, do you
mhm.
guys walk in with the quotes ready to be signed?
It depends. If it happens to be something that we are well aware of, and I'll use a current example. So
Hmm.
Windows Server 2012
Yep.
R2 that just went end of life, a couple weeks ago.
Yep.
We've known that was coming, obviously, for quite a while. We've been prepping our clients for this for a year. So any client that has met with us in, say, the last 3 to 6 months, yes, absolutely, in those meetings have come in with formal projects because we've already prepped them that
Yep.
it was coming. We
Yep.
never would walk in with something like that to surprise a client. So that's
Hmm.
why I say it depends. If it's something that we've been prepping and discussing for some time now, then yes, we absolutely sometimes can walk in with a project ready for them to review and sign. But if it's something that I'll just use a firewall, for example. If we got a notification yesterday that a customer's firewall is going end of life in 6 months, we're not going to bring in that quote this very next time we talk with the client because we want to
Hmm.
tell them first. We want to we want to tell them, hey, we just got this notification. This is what this is going to mean. We will work
That's
on this
interesting.
and get them, so like I don't like to give, I know Jay says this all the time, and I agree. Like Jay always says, we don't like to give surprises and we don't like to get surprises. And
Okay.
I kind of use that mindset for things like this. I don't want to go in with a $10,000 proposal that somebody is not prepared for. I'd rather have that conversation, start setting expectations, start explaining the why and the what, and then follow it up with a proposal. It seems
So it's
to help them have a better understanding. They don't feel like they were, caught off guard. Uh,
yeah.
you
No,
know,
I was just curious. So what is your expectation for when a CAM identifies an opportunity, how quickly they get a proposal out? Is it days?
I think it again depends on the situation. So if it's something that's coming end of life, say next month, then I expect them to make that top priority because again,
Okay,
I like
with
to
you.
give the client a little bit of leeway. I don't expect a
Mhm.
client to make a
Yeah.
decision in 24 hours. So it kind of depends on the situation and the urgency. If it's something that, again, I'll use that firewall as an example, that we know it's going to come end of life, say 6, 8 months down the line. I want them to
Yep.
have that conversation with the client first, and then once they've had the conversation with the client, then
Mhm.
yes, I expect them to make sure that they're getting that over, in a reasonable time.
That's what I'm,
Um,
I'm noticing from the kind of management style you have here. So the emphasis is really on these. The first bullet point is one-on-one conversations between you and all the people that work for you, basically, right?
yeah, yeah,
And then you have very specific week to week uh, expectations or goals, whatever word you want to use, but also specific things they need to correct or specific things they
yeah,
need to achieve. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So again, that scorecard basically is gonna kind of give myself and the account manager a quick view of
Mhm.
what they're doing well in and what they need to work on.
Mhm.
And then I'll break it down from there to say, okay, here's your kind of to-dos, and I consider to-dos something that they need to do by the next time I meet them the following Monday. So they basically have a week to do anything that I feel is a to-do, meaning they need to do it here in like the next 5 business days.
Yeah.
But then we also kind of set expectations and set some goals for like the next quarter. So maybe it's, something on
Yeah.
the
I'm with you.
development side of things. So maybe I want them to, go through some different training or, learn something different about XYZ. Those things I'm not expecting them to do, by the next time I meet with them on the following Monday,
Right.
but those things I might say, okay, I want you to do this by the end of Q4, or I
It's
want you
kind of
to do this in
it's,
Q1.
it's interesting because then like the difference that I would see is your second bullet point is then you have monthly sales meetings that includes
Mhm.
everybody
Everybody.
basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll do a entire sales meeting. I like to get everybody into the office to do that. I like to have those in person. So that will include all the account managers. It'll include the VCIO, marketing, our little renewals team. And a lot of times I will invite several people over from the technical team to join us as well. So a
Mm-hmm.
lot of times Nick, our security analyst, he will join us. It's a good opportunity for him to kind of tell the group any breaking news that, he may have heard that would be helpful for us as a company to hear, but also something that we could maybe relay to our clients if it happens to be something relevant to a application or something a client's using. Um, Jay and
Interesting.
Jim, will join if they
Yeah.
can as well. So it's just kind of like a big kind of collaborative meeting. I'll kind of go over at a high level
Mhm.
any changes that I may want to see in any particular processes, but I also want to get their feedback as a group. How has this new process been going with the
Yeah.
scorecards that we're
Right.
using for the clients? I want to hear like how those things are going. So it's very um, collaborative. I will say that it's a great group and they do like to participate. So it's very rare that we're just like that I'm the only one talking. It's a big group chat, I'll
And
say.
just for context too, basically Jim and Jay are the co-owners of AtNetPlus, and Cameron is what's his exact title? He's the service
He is
director.
the Chief Experience and Technology Officer, so he
Okay,
oversees all of the service delivery
yeah,
team.
he's
Yeah.
awesome. CRO, I know this part is being available 24/7, almost literally, but I know you're very available to your team and
And our
responsible.
clients.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and your
and our
clients. Sure.
clients.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's true.
No, I kind of put this on here almost just to be funny.
No,
Not
I
because
mean,
I
yeah.
want anybody to feel sorry for me or anything like that. It's kind of my own choice. But
Well,
I will say it's helped build the kind of trust and
I
relationships,
was just going to say that. Yeah. I think
that I
it's a management consequence in a sense, right? Not a like you say, you're not a martyr, but it's like
right.
it's kind of a two-way relationship and a trust relationship between you and the camps.
Yeah. So, I've been in the role before, and this is what I always go back to. I've been in every one of these roles before, and I know what it's like when you absolutely need some help with something, or you need to, run something by somebody, and it makes a big difference when your manager's available, so I'm just pretty much just available.
I just
And I
had a
have a,
cur just had can I ask a quick question?
yeah,
Is how many business reviews do you go on yourself? I mean, do you also,
quite
in
a,
addition to everything in the slide, do you show up on?
I do. I go on quite a bit. So,
Yeah.
it's either Jay, myself, or Jim that go on every
Mm.
single renewal meeting. So one of the three
Yeah.
of us, and depending on the client, sometimes it could be one or two of us, out of that group.
Yeah. What the?
So one of the
Yeah.
three of us, or possibly two of the three of us, go on every single renewal meeting. So you figure, we have about 80 managed clients. So they're all renewing, either every year or every other year. So we're either going on 40 to 80
Hmm.
a year just for the renewals.
Hmm.
I mean, that's a significant chunk right there. But then I could go, again, like if John wasn't available to go with one of the
I'm
account
with you.
managers to go through like a project or something like that, I will jump in and go because I can help
Okay.
explain that
Awesome.
project. If it's a client that, we've had some issues with, whether it's, service delivery related or, account management related, whatever the case may be, I always will participate in any, I'll say, client that possibly is at risk for whatever the reason may or may not be. Um,
Hmm.
I always will participate in those, absolutely. And
And
then
just
just,
so
I'm always the manager's backup. So, if
yeah.
one of the account managers has a business review meeting today at 2 o'clock and for some reason they got sick and had to go home, I will never cancel a meeting with a client because of that.
Hmm.
I will just go. I'll tag in and I'll just go.
Just so people know too, like for the slide's sake too, when you say renewal SBRs, you conduct that well in advance, I guess, of their
We do.
renewal
Yeah.
actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's
So
like
when
90
we're, yeah,
days
when
ahead of.
we're, yes, yeah, when we're meeting with our clients, so we, like, again, under the assumption that we're meeting quarterly, we have, kind of a different, I'll say, theme for each one. So, we have a planning business review meeting, a budgeting, a renewal meeting, and then a security meeting. Now, we are with these new client business review scorecards, we are touching on security now, actually all four of these, rather than just having the specific security
Security.
business review meeting. That one we still have. It goes much deeper with
Mhm.
Nick, our cybersecurity analyst, but um, we are touching on that a little bit now every single quarter. But
That
yes,
makes
like you
sense.
said, we are meeting with our clients when possible about 90 days prior to their contract expiration. And again, it goes back to we don't want to give surprises, we don't want to get surprises. The reason that we do that is, if in the event we're giving them a price change, we want them to have a quarter to kind of absorb that,
Hmm.
understand the why, have the time to discuss internally if they need to for whatever reason, and still get that back to us, in plenty of time before the existing contract expires. So, and I will say we are really fortunate that a lot of times we have our clients just sign the renewal right in that meeting, 90 days early. If they don't sign it there, typically we are getting it back 2 months in advance. Very rarely, once in a blue moon we do, but very rarely are we like at the witching hour, and the contract's expiring in a week and we haven't got it back yet. I mean, that it does happen, but it's very rare. And I think it's because, again, we make the effort to go over this and meet with them well in advance. And then it's up to the account manager to make sure they're following up with that. And you'll see one of the questions on here is, are there any outstanding managed contracts that are expiring within the next 30 days? And again, the goal is no. There absolutely should be no open pending contracts that are
Hmm.
expiring in less than 30 days. So that's something that I'm checking weekly, with all of our clients and our account managers.
I'm just kind of I'll let people kind of read down those lists for themselves so we don't have to go through each one of them. But I find it's interesting that you're measuring both kind of positive and negative things in a sense, right?
Mhm.
So these, just for people's sake, these are actual numbers. So when you say number of managed clients not meeting regularly for SBR, you really truly do mean zero, right?
Correct.
That's not a fake number, right?
Yeah, that's not just like plugged in there just for filler. No, like the goal is
Uh,
0. So the goal is absolutely 0, 0, 0. That very first number, just for reference, this particular cam that I
okay,
was, that particular cam has, I think
it
that
was
says
an
21.
example.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they have 21 assigned managed clients. So that's why their goal is 21, because I want all 21 of that person's customers meeting with them regularly.
So this is what you then go through each week. Okay, so that's why it
Yeah.
says weekly scorecard. Okay, so
Yep.
that's like then you got the specifics down below of what it is they were supposed to have done. Or,
Yeah. So example,
yeah.
like depending on how, this week gets filled in with scores, again,
Mhm,
if there's anything red, we're going to drop it down to either
mhm.
the issues
To-dos.
or the to-dos. And then we'll come up with a game plan, what can we do to fix this? So then by the next time we meet, we can get that back to green and or, have something in place. Hopefully, in the next 30 days, for example, we can get a particular situation or client, back on track.
Yeah, so just the general themes, it seems like one is kind of are you kind of all over your SBRs, right? Would be the first set of them, and including rules, right? So
Mhm.
the, then you kind of get into like the responsiveness, I guess, would be a general
Yeah.
category,
Hmm.
right? So that they're CAM queues within 2 days, projects ready to be proposed within 2 days. And what's cool about this is that since you're doing it on a weekly cycle, you can actually see you're
Yeah.
actually attacking it in the short-term view, so people are improving week to week. Yeah.
Yeah,
And then the
exactly.
project's going to close, right? Oh, this is great,
Right.
Teresa.
Yeah. Yeah. And if like, for example, if I was meeting with them monthly, if if there was a project ready for an account manager to
Hmm.
put together and provide to a client, if I was
Yeah,
only looking at this monthly,
yeah,
say the client account manager just missed it for whatever reason, and I would not want that just sitting ready to go for a month.
yeah,
If people are people, everybody
yeah.
can forget things, obviously myself included. So it's just
I,
helpful to, do it on the weekly cadence.
it's kind of now that I kind of get into the details of what you do, and it's actually quite super impressive. I guess let me just say it that way. Because what you're emphasizing is week to week development and week to week accountability. And you're not doing it in a group, right? You're doing it face to
No,
face.
individual. Yeah, these
Yeah,
are
and
individual. Yeah.
yeah, so that people, like my sense about you is you got some steel in you too. So in the sense that
Mhm.
the if people aren't hitting their numbers, you're not too shy to you're
No,
not you kind of attack it head on. I guess the easiest way to say
yeah.
it.
So I would say that anybody that knows me
Hmm.
knows that I definitely have expectations and
Yeah.
that I definitely will make sure that I'm having a conversation if those expectations are not being met. So,
Well, I think also it's and I can see by the way when we're going through this how EOS is going to help you kind of across the board and stuff.
mhm.
But I think the basic feeling I get is that some people kind of give lip service that they're managing their cams, and I don't mean that to be judgmental in a sense, but you really are with your one-on-one time with them and your these metrics and all that stuff. You really are managing your team, uh,
Mm.
kind of heart and soul, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
Uh,
I think it's been extremely helpful in building the team that we have. I think it's been great for me. I think it's been great for our
mm,
customers. Um, yeah.
mm,
Now, I will be completely honest to say it's extremely time consuming. So the management side is obviously a
Yeah,
huge chunk of my, available time.
yeah,
So I don't spend as much time on the business development side of things that I once did because
right.
as my team has grown and our client base has grown, I have definitely shifted a lot of my time and energy more into the management and interactions with our existing customers. I've leaned a lot on marketing to
Yeah.
handle the business development things, which I will continue to do. But we are a growing company. I can absolutely see us adding another account manager, in the next
Yeah.
year. Definitely, I could see us adding another VCIO potentially in another year. So as this team grows, I'm going to have to start really evaluating um, when I need to, have maybe somebody to, kind of be that middle level to kind of assist me with some of these things as well.
Yeah.
So,
It's really interesting when you get, when you get into the, like I say, when you get into kind of nitty gritty of what you're doing and seeing kind of how the week to week stuff meshes with the monthly meetings you have with Jay and the whole team
hmm hmm
it's really, and it showed to me like how much in your team, because you're doing it also, you have a sense of the team is really dedicated to you as well. I
yeah,
mean,
no, I,
it was interesting that they would just, how much they obviously respect you, you know, and how much they kind of feel, a connection to you in addition to connection to that plus, I guess I would say.
yeah, I agree. Yeah, I have the utmost respect for all of them. They do a great job. They are a huge part of our success as a company for sure. But yeah, I definitely feel we have a really good mutual respect and expectations for each other for sure.
So I want to wrap up so we get you out of here in time. The kind of what are the highlights of how you want to change? I know you mentioned kind of themes throughout our time here today already about what you changed in SBR. Anything kind of big things that you want to make sure people
Yeah,
take away
so
from this?
outside the kind of, I'll say, themed business review meetings, we have already implemented some things into our business review meetings with our clients, very similar to what we just went through in how I
Mhm.
interact with our account managers. So we've essentially created a client scorecard that's very similar.
That's funny.
So it, yeah, so it has a section that's strictly around security. It has a
Mhm.
section that's around lifecycle management. It has a section around relationship.
Mhm.
Um, and again, we're going to be doing this every business review with every client. We've probably been through about 10 of these already, and we have
Mhm.
gotten some great feedback
I agree.
from our clients that have been are in the advanced tier. They're having a lot of green on their scorecard, so they're proud of it and they love it.
Mhm.
Our clients that are not on the advanced tier, they're getting a lot of red on this
Mhm.
scorecard, and it's helped restart and respark conversations because when somebody sees red, mentally you're like, oh my gosh, why am I failing? And it's, well,
Mhm.
because we have to say no to all these things, but we can
Mhm.
change all these to green by you making a
Yeah.
change. So it's just another
Mhm.
level of kind of reinforcement. And again, some people kind of visually, you know, see things, and it kind of registers better for them than just kind of hearing us say the same thing every time we meet them. I know, I
Yeah.
get it, and they kind of just want to move on. But we are going to do these every meeting. When we're done with that meeting, we come back, we send that recap, how the meeting went.
Yeah.
We're attaching that scorecard so they have it. And then we'll do the same thing like I do for the account managers. The
Right.
next business review, we'll have last meeting's scorecard versus this meeting's scorecard and see if did it decline? Did it stay stagnant or did it get better? And
Yeah.
we'll just start reviewing them with the client each time. Because the goal is obviously let's make some progress, you know?
Mhm.
So
No, I like that. The other thing I always say too, it's never thought about it in the context you just said is like clients don't know what they're supposed to do to be good clients.
Right.
Right. And if you have something, that's why EOS and the kind of partnership model makes a lot of sense, which is if you guys can say here's our shared responsibility and us delivering value to you and you getting value from us in a very tangible and tactical way. I think it's brilliant.
Right. Yeah. And like I said, like, yeah, I mean, obviously security is important to all of us, but I put some other sections on the client scorecard because that's important. But what's also important is the relationship, obviously, so in that scorecard, it's asking, hey, are you meeting with us quarterly? Um,
Yeah.
do
This
you
is
find, do you find these meetings valuable? Yes or no? Like
so it's
again,
not
we want to know. Yeah.
so it looks like here is just your basic agenda that you'd run on a business review and um, I like the fact that you have the scorecard review and discussion right in the middle there, right?
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
get into meat and beginning, and then you kind of get into kind of the road mapping and budget and all that stuff. But
Hmm.
what's interesting to me is that you want your client to know their part in the SBR as well as your own part, right? Which
Hmm.
is
Hmm.
like,
Which is why we kind of like to start it off by, is there any personal or business related news you want to share with us? Any good news you want to share with us? It could be personal too, like, you just
uh,
had a grandbaby, or we want to know what's going on in our clients' lives as much as they're willing to share. And we have, like I said, we overwhelmingly have a good relationship with most of our clients to the point where they do know if somebody's been sick, did somebody just have a baby? Is somebody just going on vacation? Like, we have those kinds of relationships with our clients. So I really mean it when we say, like, let's share some headlines. And the headlines obviously are super important to us if it's business related, but if they're personal, you know what? We want to hear that too.
oh, and this is an example of what you would, okay, this would be the similar scorecard that you would review with the client.
Right. And, I
And
know that this is just from September, this example. I've already changed it. Like, so
I was
it's
just going to
it's
say,
actually,
as I looked at this and as you guys get further into EOS and all this stuff, I can see this thing
yeah.
changing
So,
significantly.
I would say that I've maybe added, I think I added one more small section and a couple additional questions in some of those categories. But it's like anything else. Like I am not like a creature of habit for sure. I am always willing to evolve. So
Yeah, no,
as I read things online, as I sit in a client meeting, I start hearing things. I'll think of something in the middle of the night, and I'm like, you know what? That actually would be super helpful to utilize or to ask. So I'm forever going in here and changing stuff. That's one thing the account managers
yeah,
probably want to kill me over half the time is because I constantly am like, hey, made another change. So as soon as they
yeah,
get used to something, I'm changing it. But I,
yeah. I
I
think
want to constantly, make it better.
I like and again, I'm trying to draw management lessons out of it too, which is um, everything you said. I think that the difficult part of this thing is whether it's significant enough to include in the scorecard or not to include in the scorecard,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
That's
Yeah.
that's the tricky thing.
I don't want it to get to the point where, we're just putting all kinds of stuff on here just for the sake of putting it on here. I really want it to be the most important things that we should be tracking individually. Now, keep in mind, we are going over a ton of other things during these meetings. Like we're going over their current Office 365 active
With you.
licenses and making sure, we're going over all kinds of things. But that to me that's not scorecard related, So
Right.
there's a lot of other things that we're discussing, but I'm constantly going to be just evaluating this and making sure that it makes sense. And it's the most important things that we want to be really tracking separately.
Well, we're up against the hour, so I don't want to take too much of your time. But I just want to tell you, just on a personal basis, this has been like a great example of what true management actually means. Um, in a way that I don't see, frankly, I don't think I've seen anything close to this on the client account management side. I also think that the interesting thing with you is you put your money where your mouth is. And in your case, your money is your time, right? And I think that every good thing that's come out of this process for AtNetPlus is directly related to the time and the, I guess, pride that you have in terms of spending face-to-face, one-on-one time with your people, getting really down to the nitty-gritty about how they're doing and what they can do to be better kind of week to week. And doing that despite the fact that it's a big commitment of time. So thank you for taking me through this. I'm glad we did this because I don't
Yeah.
think people got this got the depth of what you do out of the kind of presentation we did at the STP roundup just because of the setup. But I think this has been great for me. Hopefully other people like it too, Therese. But
Yeah.
this is if nothing else. It's been a great hour for me, and I've
Yeah.
actually learned a lot.
Yeah, me too. No, I appreciate it.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's helpful, not helpful, but
Well, that's awesome.
I'm definitely not the know all be all. So I'm always, like I said, I'm always open to hearing everybody's thoughts and suggestions and how I personally can improve too. So yeah, I'm interested to
Yeah.
see people's thoughts and please share any feedback that anybody has.
Okay. Sounds great, my friend. Thank you for the time
Okay.
today.
No, I appreciate it, Michael.
Okay. We'll see you later.
Okay. Bye bye.
Bye.